Welcome to the Creepin' It Real Show, your one-stop shop for weird news, movie reviews, otherworldly, and paranormal shenanigans. We'll take a dive into what's going on in creepy pop culture. You can follow Creepin' It Real Show on Twitter at creepin_it. You can email us at creepinitrealshow@gmail.com. You can also go to our website, creepinitshow.com. Welcome to Creepin' It Real. I'm one of your hosts, Yardley, in a brisky fall, Atlanta, Georgia. And from up the road, how are you doing there, Christy? Is it a little breezy there too?
Yeah, it's nice. I love this time of the year. It's my favorite. Good holidays, good weather, beautiful trees. I can drink my warm alcoholic beverages instead of my cool alcoholic beverages. You know, it's a whole shift for me. So I pulled out my scarves a couple of days ago and ready to go.
Yeah, you know what? I probably have to say as compared to a lot of other places, you know, our falls are really mild because it was, you know, we had some 70s,
yeah.
Degree days last week. So I'm not going to complain on that. But from the land of the weather being the bomb always, California, how you doing, Moni?
I'm good, although I don't know if it's the bomb right now. It is like high 80s, low 90s, like not at the moment, but in another hour or two it will be, and that's not okay. Like, Christy pulling out the scarves, how can I be basic with my scarves and my Ugg boots and my Starbucks if it's going to be so freaking hot? So
your PSL, your pumpkin spice latte?
Yeah, I have to drink a cold PSL, you guys. The struggle is real.
Oh, I'm crying myself to sleep for you.
Well, you know what? Something I want to say is I want to thank the listeners and the people who follow us on social media. I think there's been an uptick of activity, and we're getting more and more people who are participating. So I just definitely want to give everybody a big shout out for that, because the more participation, the more it amps up the other creepers, and it also inspires us to want to provide even more content. So I think it's been kind of cool interacting with the people on social media. What do y'all think?
Yes, and you got a specific shout out last night, Yardley, on the Facebook page. I posted the spread for my first ever Dungeons and Dragons game. Yeah, I need to give myself a wedgie with the nerd level there. But and somebody was like, "Where's our boy Yardley?" So yeah, I mean, obviously you're on the other side of the country, but they were looking for you last night.
Hey, that's what's up. How did all that go? The D&D.
It was good. It got crazy. There was people, in the game peeing themselves so that other people could steal from the family. And, while they were distracted, there was, I did a lot of murdering. That was cool. So it's okay. I'm still not sure if it's for me, but it was an interesting journey for sure.
Okay. Well, over time, you'll get into it. I still have D&D dice and pieces from the 80s, actually.
Wow.
I was going through it, a druid set. Ironic that that's the one thing that survived all these years. But yeah, it's fun, and it's definitely, at least from what I've been seeing here in Atlanta, it just seems like it's really roaring back in popularity.
Yeah.
They have D&D matches at all these bars and things like that. So maybe I'll dip my toe back into it. Christy, is there anything that you want to shout out concerning the Patreon?
Well, I'm a little behind in my movie reviews, so no on that. We don't have a lot of changes from this last week.
I have something to say about the Patreon, though.
What is it?
We have a problem, y'all. Our champagne toast for Winchester, which by the way is this coming Wednesday, when we're going Thursday, but we're meeting up on this coming Wednesday. So when the show drops, Christy and I will be meeting face to face for the first time. And I just want to say, our Patreon champagne toast, we have $12, y'all. Now, I am grateful for all generosity, and thank you for those $12. But what I got to say is, in California, you can't even get a cheap bottle from like Beverages and More for $12. We need at least like $20 so that we can just get a bottle of champagne. We're cheap drunks, we're fun girls, but we are going to stay at a haunted hotel for you guys. We are going to the Winchester for you guys. I have put my breasts on camera for you guys. We need one bottle of cheap champagne, y'all.
So get on there. Get on there and go see Mooney's booby reviews because they're fantastic.
And I guess technically this episode is the Halloween podcast, right?
Well, last week we did
Okay.
Halloween, but this week we can. I'll never get tired of talking about Halloween.
No.
So
Halloween all year, y'all.
Well, seeing as that we all didn't really deep dive into this at all, and it's probably not anything that should take an incredible amount of time on, but I think we all love Halloween. It's one of our favorite holidays, and I just wanted to ask both of you. I'm going to start with Christy. What are the things that you like the most about Halloween?
Well, I mean, for starters, if anybody's been listening to this show for any small amount of time, have realized that I'm a complete weirdo and love every single weird thing that usually Halloween encompasses for everybody. I spend, what people do on Halloween for the month of Halloween, I do all year, except for the dressing up and all of that. So this is when all the horror movies hit TV, old, new, everything really ramps up and we get lots of good new stuff. And then, all the channels are pulling up the old stuff. My favorite thing of Halloween to do on my own is Twilight Zone. They do a marathon. They start from episode 1 and they go through all their seasons. And it usually takes, I don't know, like 48 hours to get through all of them. But, and here personally at our house, we go insane and decorate it.
Your house is legit for Halloween. Yeah.
Yeah, we go nuts. And my husband's goal is to make at least one kid cry every year. And we definitely met that goal this year. And the kids that are brave enough to get to the door, we give them full-size candy bars. And then, of course, give the adults beer or whatever. We have a pretty small neighborhood. And not very many people know it's here. And so we don't get a lot of outside activity. It's mainly just people around inside our neighborhood. So that also allows us to meet people that we haven't met yet or catch up with people we haven't seen in a while. And yeah, because they always come up and they'll be like, oh my gosh, your house is insane. This is crazy. This is so awesome. And so it just kind of opens up a way to, talk to people that you've never, you don't really talk to a lot. Usually at the end of the night, we all gather around in my cul-de-sac because we live in the cul-de-sac and hang out. We get a fire pit and or go inside and eat and drink. So we just really like to do it right. It also, for me, is the launch of the holiday season in general because you've got so much back to back to back coming. And I'm not really a big on Thanksgiving. Some people love Thanksgiving. I mean, it's okay. My big holidays are Halloween and Christmas. And then my birthday and my daughter's birthday are in the middle of that. So it's just a lot. We have a lot of celebrating coming. And I know that. And that's kind of like amps up our excitement. So that's what I love about Halloween.
Nice.
All right, Moni, I know you've got an avalanche of Halloween happiness.
Yeah, I mean, I do watching the horror movies and the new things and the old ones all season long. And it gives me an opportunity to tell my spouse, especially now that we have this podcast, that too bad we're going to watch another horror movie tonight because, it's my job now and it's Halloween. We can't miss out on this opportunity. On November 1st, you can watch whatever you want. But so there's that aspect. But, I don't feel like I'm a traditional mom in a lot of ways, but the holidays with little ones, that's really where it's at. And so they get all excited for the costumes and then they are deadly cute going around the neighborhood like tweet or tweet. And then we get to eat all their candy that night when they're asleep. I didn't eat all of it for the record, but I ate a lot of it. And yeah, it's just a really good neighborhood thing. This neighborhood put on like a little party that they like posted on the mailboxes. So everybody brought like tables out to the middle of the driveways and served all kinds of different treats for people. And they didn't make it too scary because there's a lot of little kids up here. But it was super fun. And like my next door neighbor, they did like some kind of meat like in the front yard. And so we brought some side dishes and had a whole meal like standing outside. So it's a good time. It's a community thing. And I don't particularly love Christmas or like the other holidays. So it's my last kind of relishing of like that not happening before we get over the fun Halloween and have to go into all of those other things. So yeah, it's a good holiday. What about you, Yardley?
Yeah, I like the creativity and I like catching things. I like the pop culture,
Yeah.
costumes, but I don't like the pop culture costumes when I'm like the only person in the room that like knows what people are. Like I saw these three girls and they were Destiny's Child. And I was like, that's Destiny's
That's
Child. And
cute.
everybody else was like, what the fuck is that? You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what is that? But I think for me, it's almost more fun, as much as I love Halloween, to sit back and watch the people who love it more. So,
Well, you
you know,
also every year get to go to Voodoo Fest in New
yeah,
Orleans, and I am crazy jealous about your Voodoo Fest this year. So,
it,
but
it
I know
should
you
be
usually go every year, right?
it should be called, yeah, it should be called Booty Fest. It
Mm.
was it
Oh,
was
do
insane
tell.
out there. I will say this: there's this artist named Lizzo. I don't even know if y'all are even familiar with it, but if you get an
Carrie
opportunity,
Carrie was
yeah,
telling me about her.
yeah, she was the best performance that I saw out there, and of course, a lot of people, it's New Orleans. Tons of people were, dressed up as different things, and I just think that it's dope. It's a spectacle, and I think in New Orleans you could wear your Halloween costume any time of the year, and
Hmm.
nobody's going to judge you. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So yeah, you can take a few liberties there. Well, you know what? Let's go ahead and just dive into some weird news. This is something that I think Christy posted about, and I posted another YouTube video about the Haunting of Hill House background ghost. Now, when I was watching it, I got to be honest, I didn't notice any of these, at all. So, just out of curiosity, did y'all catch any of those? Because I didn't like read articles or reviews after I watched an episode. I'm pretty sure maybe some of those may have mentioned it, but I just didn't notice anything. Maybe I was just so focused on the great job that the actors and actresses were doing that I wasn't really looking in the background for anything that they didn't necessarily want to jump out to me to see. So, I mean, were y'all just more, intuitive of this, or do I just need to pay better attention?
No, I missed all of these things. And I'll tell you what, the story is so brilliantly crafted, and the tension that's built in the episodes. The times when the ghosts are in the background are generally times when we're anticipating a character is about to see a ghost in front of them or something, or you're about to get a jump scare, so for me, I was so like, oh my gosh, nail biting time, something's about to happen, that I didn't even notice anything else besides what, the main story that was being told. So I don't know. I don't know if it was worth it, like the time and the effort and the extra money that it must have taken to put all these in. What do you think, Christy?
Um, yeah, I didn't notice them either. I don't know if it is waste. It's kind of cool because what it makes you want to do is go back and watch it again. So they were timely in announcing it after it had been going for a while and the popularity was kind of ramping up. And then they were like, "Oh, by the way, you finished? Well, guess what? You missed a whole bunch of shit that maybe you want to go back and watch
You
again."
know what?
So,
And I did read an interesting article about that. It's not only did the creators say that the series is made to go back and watch again, but also they talked about the ending, how they debated for a really long time about what they thought about doing was, spoilers if you haven't seen it, the last episode when they're in the red room and then they flash forward when it's all over and they're supposed to be 2 years later, they're celebrating sobriety, people are pregnant, like all good things are happening. They were going to pan back out on the camera and show that they were in that weird red room, that they were actually
oh
inside of
shit.
there and the house had eaten them. So
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
my
they
gosh.
they have really debated for a long time about having that be the ending. So I'm glad it ended the way that it did. But yeah, they had some different, there was another alternate ending that I don't remember right now, but basically they were going to go with the house ate them, and they were really leaning towards that. Do you think that would have been better, or did you like the way that it ended?
I think they gave us a break. They were like, we can't do it to him. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Because you've
Yeah.
pretty much gone through all these episodes and all this trauma everybody's going through. But I mean, that would have been some devious shit. I mean, I wouldn't have been mad if they did it, but I agree. Like
Would have been like, oh.
give them give them a little bit of a break because they've got a lot of secrets to live with as well. But yeah, what do you think, Chris? Are you thinking alternate ending would have been better?
I liked the ending. I'm glad because it was so, the after the crooked neck lady or bent neck lady or whatever episode, it just gets hardcore intense after that. And I like that you're right, Yardley. They kind of gave us a break where we're like, okay, it's a somewhat kind of happy ending, like some of them made it out. And so I would have been like, no, if they would have left it like that. And like, you're like, oh, yay, okay, it worked out. And then they'd be like, suckers, no it didn't. I would have probably been pissed. But what would have been cool is if they'd shot 2 endings and like had you could watch both of them and stuff. But I get it. Maybe next time.
Well, they did say too that as far as they're concerned, if they do a sequel, which I think they'll have to with the way that the reviews and everything have been on this one, that they're probably going to leave the Crane family alone. So hopefully we'll get like a prequel to see how the house became how it is, because I'm still curious about that. Or maybe even a sequel where a completely different family moves in somehow. But I think the poor Crane family, and that's it too. It's not like, I mean, it's a bittersweet ending because half the family's freaking dead, y'all. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like, they've definitely suffered enough.
Man, every time I think about Nell, though, man, that episode 5, that's my favorite. It's just so.
It was. So it was so funny because the guy next door in my office, apparently it's hysterical. Shout out, he knows who I'm talking about him because he listens to my show. He is apparently a total horror junkie. And I told him, I'm like, you gotta watch the show. And he started watching it, and he was kind of going slow. And he hadn't come and talked to me about it. And so I knew he had not gotten to episode 5 yet. Because once you hit episode 5, you're like, holy shit, So I came into work on Friday, and he was waiting for me. He's like, oh my God. He's like,
someone to talk to.
he's like, it happened, and the show ended. Yeah, and he's like, and my wife was asleep in bed, and I was just like, oh my God, I have to tell Christy she's gonna die. Like, he's like, and I'm gonna binge it all weekend long. He's like, I'm gonna have to binge it. I was like, oh, it's so good. So it was just so well made. I was so not looking forward to it because of all the I think all the other Hill movies are stupid. So I was like, oh man, we're actually doing a show now. Come on, but I was wrong. I love it.
But wasn't this was a Netflix original?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And see that's the thing about Netflix originals. Like they'll put something out and there'll be one that's great, and then it's followed up by 10 whack ones.
Yeah.
But I'll say probably 1 out of 5 is probably a little bit more accurate. But yeah, we all enjoyed that. So we're gonna move on to Christy. Tell us a little bit about a hacked home monitoring system.
This is the stuff of my worst nightmares because we have cameras in our home because kids. And one of them has a boyfriend, so we're pretty good about when we're not here. We got Alexas in every room, cameras in every room, not every room, but every main room. And so this was when I read this, my blood turned cold. Apparently, mother now living in fear after her Nest home monitoring system was hacked by a stranger who started talking to her 5-year-old son and asked if he took the school bus home. So this is in Long Island. Yeah. No. Oh, hell no. Long Island mom said her son usually talks to his father over the cam after school, but one day her son ran and told her, "It's not daddy talking to me. It's not daddy." The stranger had also asked the mom's son about the toys he was playing with. She told him she was calling the police and immediately unplugged the camera. Nest blamed hacks on customers reusing passwords exposed on their websites. Authorities told the mom that there was little they could do after the hacking. So that is like...
How is there little they can do? How is that not some kind of harassment at the very least? I don't understand.
I don't know if they just don't have the technology knowledge to go in and like figure out who got into their system. I don't know, but
and it says that the Nest software people, they're like, oh, it's because she used the same password in this as she used in other things. You know what, fuckers? Still,
well, the other thing
this is like fucked up stuff.
Well, I mean, how much money do you really think a police department anywhere on the earth invests into cyber investigation?
Yeah, they don't.
Probably nothing.
Very little. Very little, unless
Yeah.
it was like a murder or something like that. They probably don't have the resources. I would think. I don't know. I think this should fall on Nest. I think if you're gonna put a product out there like this, you need to have the understanding that I hope that didn't there my link started playing music and it freaked me out. It was really loud. Then I was like, what the hell's happening? Anyway, but
Okay, so you use the same password, but do they have no other verification process? Come on, Nest. Like everyone else does that stupid like click all the things with the cars to ensure you're not a robot, and they're impossible. Like,
yeah, right.
like
Yeah.
you can't just say, oh, because she used the same password. Okay, just put it on her. That's fine.
Yeah, well, also apparently Nest had been overall Nest had been hacked, and
Yeah.
whoever hacked it put a bunch of passwords online, and I guess hers was one of them. I don't know. It's weird. I'm trying to make sense, but anytime somebody emails you, a company emails you and says change your password, change your fucking password.
Change your password.
Seriously,
Yep.
especially
Some of it has to be on
with
the
shit like
consumer,
this.
but
Yeah, you don't
but
want to
in a
mess around with camera
Yeah.
systems. So if you've
No.
got one like we do, that's what our password is incredibly like very hard to figure out. But if you do figure it out, you could basically take over our entire lives because it's on everything. So when somebody tells me to change it, I fucking change it. That's it. So yeah, that is just absolutely makes me just terrified. Like, ugh.
Well, looking at this link that Moni posted, tell us about this dog
Is this
that
a
shoots a
Florida?
man.
Is this a Florida interview?
So I was going to say, in not Florida news, because
okay.
my husband started reading this to me on the couch the other day. He found it on Twitter. And I was like, this is Florida, right? And he looks to it. It's New Mexico, actually.
Yeah.
But I'm still going to call it in not Florida news because it might as well be Florida.
This is
So
totally New Mexico, by the way, because I grew up there. And so this is absolutely New Mexico.
So it's dog shoots man, man survives, defends dog. He didn't mean to do it. He's a good dog. So first of all, the man is named, let's see, a dog named Charlie shot a man named Tex
Yep.
on the way to a jackrabbit hunt in the New Mexico desert. It went through my ribs, my lung, and busted up my collarbone on the right side. I had a gaping hole, and a lot of blood there too. I could see the blood and I felt it. Well, I would hope you felt it when a slug went through you. So the guy's okay. So that's what makes it funnier. But this is my favorite part. Oh, by the way, his name is Tex Gilligan. And if you know me, the men in my life, whenever they do something silly, I'm like, Gilligan, for serious. This is why we can't have nice things, right? So Gilligan said that he had loaded up his pickup truck with his gun and his trio of dogs, Charlie, Scooter, and Cowboy, climbed into the driver's seat and headed out to the desert west of Las Cruces to hunt jackrabbits. Charlie, 120-pound Rottweiler mix, got his foot in the trigger of the gun, caught the trigger, and blasted a shot at his unsuspecting owner. And it gets better, who said that at first he thought he'd been hit by a sniper from a distance. Who the fuck believes that when you're in the middle of the desert that a sniper gives a shit about you and has that good of a range and aim to hit you in the shoulder in your car from whatever distance? Like, I would have thought my gun discharged by accident. I feel like there are all kinds of explanations when you have your own gun in the car that don't involve a sniper.
Well,
Why the fuck would you put a loaded gun in your car with a bunch of dogs? Are you insane?
But that was one of those things. That was a total fluke, though. That's so.
Still, like loaded gun.
I want him and not the dog because I think he might hopefully learned a lesson from this.
Yeah, I guess he probably would have to secure it, but that's one of those. That was a total fluky thing. I'm pretty sure that he thought it was a sniper because he probably, well, first of all, there's probably shock after you get shot or whatever. But
that's true.
Yeah, that's pretty. Well, I'm glad he made it. I'm glad the dude made it because that's just one of those fluky ass things that you just have to shake your head at. But
the shotgun was positioned in the truck with the barrel facing up towards Mr. Gilligan.
Yeah, that just wasn't a good. You know what I think probably happened? He probably like had the door open, put his gun on the seat, let the dogs get in on the side, might have walked around, gun slid, dog hit it, boom, he gets shot in the shoulder.
Yeah. And he says he doesn't normally bring his cell
Yeah.
phone, but because it had been raining, he decided to bring it with him, which my grandparents are the same way about never having their damn cell phones that we gave to them for safety. So thankfully, this guy had a cell phone because he said there was nobody else around and he was able to call for help. Maybe the dog calls for help.
Oh, man. Well, I have to say, that's probably definitely
Lassie,
a worse
get help!
weekend than
Gilligan's hurt.
Oh my god.
mine.
You cannot make this shit up, man.
I know.
And,
Come on,
can't.
Gilligan, get with it.
and you know the ending, which you guys wouldn't think twice about, or oh shit, or I realized I closed the link, but where I can't remember where he said that he got treatment. What what was the city or the town called where they said he was at? Here, where was it?
Gun position, blah, 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 blah. ABC News. Gilligan was taken to the hospital.
Does it say
Broken
what
leg.
hospital?
I don't see
El Paso.
that.
El Paso. So
Okay,
he's in,
yep.
So El Paso is Texas. So this
Yeah.
is this was my point, is El Paso is in Texas. And down there where he's at, that's where I grew up. And our medical facilities down there, I swear to God, there's like fucking witch doctors riding around on wagons for our medical. I'm not even joking. Like, if you live down there and you get sick or have an accident, like, just don't even go to the doctor there. They took him to El Paso in Texas. That's how far, like, you don't just go down the street 10 minutes to a hospital. You have to go to fucking Texas to get good medical attention.
Just because they want to pack the wound with marijuana leaves,
pretty
and then
much
let you go
tobacco.
home.
Yeah, they're like, here's
hospital,
some tobacco leaves, and like it's like I was in a car accident in when I was in high school, and they sent me home with fucking short-term memory loss and a brain injury. It's a miracle I didn't die or slip into a coma. They're just the biggest pile of shit down there. And that's just one story. I could go on for hours of the crazy. I mean, my dad, was just diagnosed with lung cancer, and they told him, "Oh, you have it? Oh, no, you don't. Well, maybe. Well, I don't know." So he finally was like, "Fuck this," and he went to Houston.
Those things we need to know about.
Yeah, it's like it is ridiculous down there. It's ridiculous. That poor man had to go to Texas to get good medical treatment. That's what I was cracking up about.
Well,
and it's the truth.
Well, y'all ready to dive into some Malevolent real quick? All right. Well, we're going to do a spoiler review for Malevolent, the 2018 Netflix original. Now, they put it in the queue as a supernatural thriller horror. I don't really think that it should have horror in it. I think it's more of a supernatural thriller, but there wasn't really anything that made it horror to me. Did y'all feel the same way about that?
I mean, I thought there was going to be horror once we had, starting off towards the beginning when the mannequin thing like attacks her because it's a ghost or something. I'm not really sure what happened, but right off the bat, then I'm like, okay, this is going to be a supernatural horror. But yeah, it turned into more sort of murder mystery. I'm not really sure.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm going to give a real quick synopsis before we get into the deep summary here. But brother and sister team, Angela and Jackson, they're scam artists. So they prey on the grief-stricken and vulnerable, and they try to convince the bereaved that Angela has the ability to contact the dead. It's a pretty simple con until Mrs. Green summons the pair to her home, the orphanage that was once staged to a string of murders of young girls. And Angela grows less and less certain of what's actually real. The fake paranormal investigators suffer the ultimate reality check when they are confronted by the true horrors and terrifying past that lie hidden within the haunted orphanage. Our main characters are played by Florence Pugh, is an actress she is British. She plays the character Angela. Ben Lloyd Hughes plays Jackson. Georgina Bevan plays Beth. Scott Chambers plays Elliot. Celia Emery plays Mrs. Green.
Really quick, I wanted to say, anybody who hasn't seen this movie and wants to, there's quite a revealing twist. So if you haven't watched it, turn us off, watch it, and turn us back on because I don't want to ruin it for you. It was interesting, so I didn't want to be like, hey, we're just going to tell you.
It's easy to turn us back on.
Yeah,
so.
Definitely turn us back on. But yeah, if you haven't seen it and you like twisty endings, then definitely watch it. It was interesting. So.
Okay, well, here's our hardcore summary. Angela and Jackson are siblings who, with a small team of paranormal investigators, they run a fake medium scam on clients who believe their houses are haunted. The team utilizes such things as recordings and tripwires to convince their clients that they've caught evidence of spirits. And they use the reputation of the siblings' late mother to promote Angela's power as a medium. Now, excuse me. I want to ask y'all this. Now, I don't really know about, paranormal investigators and whether or not they charge money. I would think that nobody could charge money because it's really hard to kind of prove the things that you're looking into. But maybe either of you might have a little bit more information on, do people run these types of scams for real or no?
There's two different kinds of paranormal investigators to my mind, and this is based off of my experience with the wonderful ladies, shout out again at the San Diego Paranormal Research Society, because they go around and they have all of their equipment that they pay for, and they do not take money to go investigate places and do a lot of debunking as well as recording evidence of paranormal things. And that being said, if someone is taking money to investigate paranormal things, most especially if it involves something as sensitive as a dead loved one, you need to look twice at that. Unless you're just paying enough for their gas for them to get over to you, someone who's helping you with a paranormal experience involving possibly the dead loved ones that you have recently lost and you're still grieving over, if they are asking you for money to help with that, you need to think twice about that. And that got me right off the bat with this, because you're preying on people who have this grief and loss in their lives and aren't thinking clearly and just desperately want to talk to someone who has passed, whether they're actually there or not. And then you get people coming in and saying, they're definitely here. Like, be so careful is all I'm saying, because we have not paid a dime for the numerous investigations that we've had.
And this was taking place in the 80s, which was a little bit of a different time. Paranormal wasn't like it is now. So I think, and this is in the UK apparently, right? Or was it Scotland or the UK that it was supposed to be filmed at? But anyway.
I think it was Scotland, but they were from the UK, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So back then, I think it was a little different time. I could see people paying for this because they don't know any better. Plus,
now that it's coming into its own as a paranormal, like a science, yeah. But definitely, you're right. It was so sensationalized in the 80s.
Right. And plus, they have the reputation of the mom. And, when you get, if you go to get a psychic reading, you have to pay for it, So a little different. Yeah. Maybe I agree with you now, though, especially when you see so many of these shows on TV and they say, do not pay somebody to do this. We go and we do this as a service, and we get funding in a different way. Sure. So that's what the first thing that stuck out to me was, you're right. Who would pay for that? But then back in the 80s, people didn't quite know any better. So anyway, it's possible that that's probably why they put it in the 80s, because people were a little bit more easier fooled than to now, because we have too much technology and information on our hands now,
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah.
Yeah. Well, during their latest job, Angela sees something paranormal. The strange incidents continue, causing Angela to worry about the parallels to her mother, who heard voices and wound up killing herself because she saw people who weren't there. Kind of sounds like Hill House. Again, man. That show has spoiled me. Okay, so a new client, Mrs. Green, she calls, she's desperate. She's requesting the team to come immediately to stop the girls screaming. Angela's disturbed and turns down the request, though she later looks into the history of the caller's house to discover it was a great house turned into a school. The owner, Mr. Green's 3 nieces went missing. The girls were found dead, sitting in a circle as if at a tea party, with their mouths sewn shut. Mrs. Green's son, Herman, was the one who took them. Ms. Green continues to call, and Jackson, needing money to pay off a loan shark, agrees to the job despite the reluctance of the other team members. Now, there's four people on this team, and if three of us are saying no, we're not going to do it, then damn it, we're not going to do it. How do you get sucked into that one? But the team ends up formulating a plan to con Ms. Green, who has given them free reign of the house except for banning them from the East Wing. Angela continues to experience the paranormal sights and sounds, even seeing the murdered girls. Angela disregards the team's plan and follows the spirit of one of the girls into the East Wing, where the floor collapses, snapping Elliot, the cameraman's ankle. On accident, they've discovered the place the girls had been kept. Angela wants to abandon the job, but Jackson presses for them to continue. What did y'all think about this whole series of events? This is probably pretty much in the second act when all of these things happen. Have enough things happened to this point that would make you want to go ahead and just ditch the job and be out before some of these things happened that got some people hurt?
Yeah. It was just like things weren't really adding up. And then when you see the room, and I don't, of course, back then, at this time, she's seeing things and they don't believe her or they don't think it's real. And so she's following something that they can't see and they don't understand. So that that's going to be a problem later on. But hell yeah, if I had fallen down there and seen that, and there's the lady doesn't really have much to say or explain with it, yeah. I would have been like, we're getting the hell out of here.
Hey, but y'all got to get that money, man, to pay off that debt.
Yeah.
But you're right. To me, 3 against 1 should have stood firm against doing it anyway. But let's talk about Miss Green's creepy ass. So she informs Jackson that they failed, and she believes them to be scam artists. So Jackson starts seeing things himself and finally decides to abandon the job after Ms. Green hints that she was involved in the girl's murder. Attempting to flee the house, they find Beth, who was a technician and Jackson's girlfriend, had gone missing. Jackson eventually finds Beth unconscious, her mouth sewn shut. Attempting to drive away from the house with the others, Jackson crashes the car, killing Beth. Now that sucks. That's got to be the worst.
She was awfully cute too. I mean, geez, she had to mess up her face and then crash her into a tree. I mean, poor Beth. All I'm saying is she followed her stupid boyfriend who was in all his I had more sympathy for him. We first see that he needs the money. We didn't mention it here, I don't think, but that he needs the money because he's actually being beaten up by loan sharks at this point. Yeah. So, you're wondering why he's so desperate for this money, and then you see him take a brutal beating, and you kind of get it. But then you find out again that from his sister that he's on drugs, and that's where the money is going, is he's borrowing money for more drugs. And so, really these 3 should have staged an intervention for their guy instead of following him into this mess. But here we are now.
Now, here's my question. Do you think that he's doing the drugs because he was seeing shit too, and that was kind of his way of self-medicating so he doesn't see shit? I don't know. Maybe. Because I think both of them were secretly terrified of becoming their mother. And not telling
it was
the
openly.
other.
He talked about what a pathetic person she was and how they didn't want to be like her. So I
don't know.
That's really interesting.
Well, and also it was the way that the crash happened. Now, unless I'm tripping here, the thing that he sees is one of the girls with their mouths sewn shut, but it was really this elderly guy who was walking across the street. He ends up hitting it, and then that's what caused him to crash. Right. So that poor guy, man. That's this situation for this movie. I don't know if you saw the news, but there was that bus in London where the lady starts hitting the bus driver with her phone, and the bus ends up careening off of the bridge, falling 100 feet and killing everybody. This happened over the weekend. Yeah, it was pretty messed up, and it kind of reminds me this situation. It was just one of those things where some bullshit out of the blue happens and everybody has to suffer. But so Herman, who's alive and hiding in the East Wing, collects Jackson from the accident. Ms. Green, disappointed over Jackson's shyster act, sews his mouth shut before ordering Herman to take him to the shed and kill him. Angela is captured by Herman on his way back to the house. So Elliot arrives as Miss Green begins to sew Angela's mouth shut, and he manages to kill Herman. As Miss Green attacks the weakened Elliot, the spirits of the dead girls appear. Angela pleads with them for help, and they begin to scream, which distracts Miss Green long enough for Angela to free herself and kill her. Limping to the road to find help, Angela sees Jackson's ghost searching for Beth before wandering away. Angela collapses and a passerby stops to help her. Angela and Elliot are brought to the hospital for treatment. On the phone to her grandfather, Angela tells him, "I'm not alone," as a dark shadow passes over her. Okay.
I have questions.
Well, I've just got one beef though. Did either of you just feel like when Elliot was getting beat down by a woman who was probably 25 years his senior or 30 years his senior, I'm like, dude, just get up and bicycle kick her. Just don't sit there and just get beat in the back. He was a crier, Elliot. I didn't really like. I'm not saying this circumstance would make you cry, but he was crying over things that he probably shouldn't have been crying about all through the movie. But go ahead, Moni.
Well, my question is, why did Mrs. Green invite them in the first place? Because she knows that she's got the secret in the East Wing, which is So the Boy, by the way, the movie The Boy, where her son's alive, actually. She knows that she was involved in the death of these three girls. So the only two ways that this could go is these people are charlatans and nothing's found, and now she has to hide them because they found her secrets. Or the other way it goes is they exorcise the girls from her house, which she knows she killed. Like, I don't understand why she would have called them in the first place. Any insight, anybody?
Yeah, I have zero. Which, Christy?
I was in my mind. I mean, I did wonder that at the end, and I think she was looking for victims for her son, basically, like pulling him in. I don't know if she was ever. I mean, she says to get out of my house. I don't know. I don't know. I thought maybe she was pulling them in because she wanted her son to have them. Because at the beginning of the movie, she's, oh, these poor girls, and my son is a monster, but I loved him, and blah, blah, blah. And so you're kind of feeling sorry for the lady that she got, her son turned out to be a nightmare and killed these girls.
Yeah.
And then she reveals herself whenever she realizes they're a fake, or that they all thought they were fake. So she finds out they're fake, and she's saying he's not at fault. They are. He's a good boy, and she then you're like, oh shit. So she is a part of that. And then again, you think the son's dead or in jail or whatever, and then he's not. So I thought, well, maybe she pulled him there for him because they both enjoy this. Clearly, I mean, they were all about it, as soon as she realized they were frauds. So I don't know why. I hadn't really thought too much about it, but now that you're asking, I'm like, fuck if I know. That was kind of what I originally thought, though, was.
No. Well, all in all, let's just talk about what we feel the movie might have been lacking. There's a lot of exposition in this thing. I would have liked to have just seen more backdrop on the girls, or just that history without it just being mentions. I just figured with the real payoff probably being the last 15 minutes of the movie, because I think that's where a lot of the good stuff happens, probably the last 15 minutes or so. I think that they did have an opportunity to give a little backstory. And actually, to be honest, I would rather have saw more of the backstory of Ms. Green and Herman and everything that went on with the boys, as opposed to there being 4 paranormal investigators. Get rid of Elliot and Jackson's girlfriend, and let's just have the siblings, a story about those two. I would definitely have sacrificed those other couple of characters to have maybe seen something else. But did the movie work for you, Moni, or would you wish you had something else?
No, that's a good point with, getting rid of kind of the throwaway characters. When you kind of see them right at the beginning. I mean, my husband saw Jackson, and he's like, he's going to die bad. Just because he was such an asshole right off the get. But yeah, in a movie like this, you see kind of more throwaway characters, and you're like, they're there to be killed. That's what their what their lot in this movie's life is. I thought that the mouth sewing shut stuff was actually, to me, scary. It kind of tapped into like the original Strangers movie that I talked about a few months ago on our show, how like at the end they catch the two main characters and they have to watch each other basically get beaten and stabbed to death. And that has happened in real life with serial killings and stuff. Like I can't imagine watching someone you care about being not only killed in front of you but hurt in front of you, and then also knowing that you were next, like, to be killed and hurt. Like that level of terror is really, like, I don't know, just taps into something in me that it was like not the most well done movie, not the scariest movie, but that moment where, you know, she's asking the ghost for help while her non-boyfriend cry guy is getting stabbed to death, and she knows she's gonna get it next, and she's already had her mouth partially sewn shut. Like that was pretty creepy. I thought that was pretty good, but I'm glad I watched it. It's only like 90 minutes and it was interesting and the twist was interesting, but there are still, like I said, some things like, why the hell did Mrs. Green call them in the first place? That kind of stuff that I'm like, you just can't think about it too much, I think. And while I'm on the subject, Angela's character is interesting to me. I was drawn in by her, and like I found her abhorrent as well, because her with this gift, like, we know I'm a little bit sensitive to like spirits and even to living people's like feelings and stuff like that. And it's not, for me, it's not the most physically comfortable thing. And I can't imagine having a gift to the extent that she does, or a curse, whichever way you want to look at it, and being comfortable, like being a charlatan as well. I know she's doing it for her brother, but really, I feel like the first time that someone asks you to use something like that in a non, you know, in a dishonest way, you would right off the bat just say, nope, not even going to try it, because it's already a physically and emotionally uncomfortable place to be, to feel the kind of feelings that a dead person has, you know, for whatever reasons. And then to be like, let's walk into a situation where everybody's grieving someone they love and you're going to try to find their ghost and then pretend that you do and then like mess with their heads. Like, I was like, on the one hand, intrigued by her struggle, because I kind of know the feeling of like not wanting to see things and stuff like that. And also like, she's disgusting for even saying yes to this one time, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I liked her. I thought it was her. It was definitely the character that resonated with me as well, mainly because, yeah, I mean, I have some sensitivity and abilities and always have, and so it was interesting to watch her journey of understanding that she actually does, you know, have a gift, and what, you know, the nosebleeds start coming, which was marked by her mother's gift as well, and you start kind of putting those pieces together and realizing that she's not just, I mean, you knew from the beginning, but I don't know if she knew, like, I think this was maybe the homes they had been to before this one, the ones that we saw, they just never had the opportunity for her to realize that she had this gift, or it had just for some reason started happening, you know, at the beginning of the movie versus all the other times they scammed families or whatever. But I thought the movie was good. It was, I think I agree with you, Yardley. I would have liked to have seen more of the explanation about the father, or I mean the mother and the son, why they're so fucked up. I know she said some things about her own childhood that were kind of fucked up in passing while she's sewing people's mouths shut. But yeah, it was just kind of glossed over. So I would have liked to have seen a little bit more backstory on that, like why they decided to do a school, or, you know, foster care for girls and all that. Like, when you're that fucked up in the head, probably not the best idea. So anyway, could have gone with a little bit more backstory with them. And I agree, those throwaway characters, willing to risk those for something a little more in-depth with the four main people in the movie. So it was good. It was good. I mean, you know, Netflix originals, you know, the budgets aren't huge, so they do with what they got. I thought it was a good movie. I liked the twist in the end. I thought that was interesting. And just fuck. I mean, the whole progression after they crash into the tree is like, yeah, like a roller coaster. After that, you're just like, whoa. I mean, you go from maybe things are gonna happen, or ooh, jump scares, or ooh, and then to just all out fucked up shit, and you're like, whoa. So it was good. I mean, I didn't have time to question much after that.
All right, well let's go ahead and give our rating. So on a scale of 1 to 10, Moni, where would you give it?
I would give it a 6.5 to 7. Like I said, 90 minutes, not sad that I saw it. Haven't really thought about it one more time since I saw it, though. Kind of a throwaway. I liked the twist. I felt like it was almost a Texas Chainsaw Massacre type of feeling towards the end with the sewing the mouth shut, and it's like a family affair and all this kind of stuff. So obviously I love Texas Chainsaw Massacre, so that part was good for me. So yeah, maybe a 6.75.
All right, Christy.
I give it a 6.5. Yeah, it was good. I mean, and for me, like anything that's over a 5.5 is a good movie to me. But it was an interesting concept. They could have done a little bit more with it, but I appreciate their effort, and it was good. It's worth a watch for sure.
Do you think the I'm not alone with the dark shadow thing, before we get Yardley's scoring on this, do we think that means they might do another one or no?
Probably. I don't think that the budget for this was really anything. They didn't have to really spend much money considering, the location that they were at or whatever. I could see them passing on it, but I think that they probably left it open, seeing as they're the only ones that can actually see the numbers. I know Netflix doesn't release their viewership numbers for these shows. So I would probably bet on them not doing it, doing another one. They'll probably try something different. But I would give it a 6. I really wish that we would have gotten more, but seeing as we're talking about, the budgets just are really nothing. I can see why they didn't give us more backstory into the other characters. So I get it. I wish they did have a little bit more money so that we could have saw that, because to me, just kind of imagining those things in my mind, I thought that it would be pretty dope to be able to see it, in the actual movie. But, I'll give it a 6. It's above average. I would probably, recommend it to someone, more likely than not. But, and also I'm sorry that I changed the movie up on y'all.
Oh no, the other one looked super interesting but kind of weird, so this was fun to watch too.
And plus it was over 2 hours, so we might have to revisit doing that. But hey, I'm happy that all of us at least gave it an above average score. So once again, it's definitely a good recommend for me. And for next week, Christy and Moni, what y'all got going on?
Actually, Christy, if you don't mind, I have an article pulled up. So again, we could really use some help getting that champagne toast, because here's what we're offering you for next week. We are going to San Jose, and we're going to stay at what was the St. Clair Hotel, now called a Westin. But the legend goes that the St. Clair Hotel is host to its own apparition. In the early 1930s, a young woman was to be married at the gorgeous South Bay Hotel when her fiancé left her at the altar. She reportedly hung herself in the basement. One guest even reported seeing the famous ghost, though other guests disagree that it is haunted. So this is where we are staying. Guaranteed we're going to have some tomfoolery. Christy and I and my friend Katie, we're going to be up there screwing around and looking for ghosts in this hotel. But also, we are going to the Winchester Mystery House. We have made repeated attempts to reach out to them for any kind of, exclusive or private thing, and they just did it for Bizarre State, which I know Bizarre State is a lot bigger than us, and they're wonderful. But hello, if anybody knows anybody who works at or with the Winchester, tell them to return our phone calls. In the meantime, though, we are going to spend over 2 hours in the house taking some special tours, and hopefully, I don't think we're allowed to record while we're in there, but we will definitely be reporting back on what, if anything, at least the historical aspects of the Mystery House. But if we find anything, we will be sure to share that with y'all.
Yep.
All right. Well, that sounds pretty dope. Is there anything else before we give everybody our social media?
Not from me.
All right. Well, you can follow me on Twitter at militant_marker.
I am at creepin_it on Twitter and creepin@Christy on Instagram.
Find me on our Creepin' It Real Facebook page. Come over and like us over there. And I am Moni Bear on Instagram and Rebel Moni on Twitter.
All right. Well, until next time, creepers, keep it real.